I wouldn't say any specific location where I see African expression here in Toronto, but I always love wherever I am in the world, like you just see somebody dressed in like full African attire, and like that's the expression. I think Africans generally express themselves through style and through color. So whenever I see people like in traditional outfits, I'm like, okay, yes, my people. Yeah. My name is Eyitemi Popo. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria, and I am the founder of Ayiba Magazine. So I was born in Lagos, Nigeria, and then when my parents got divorced, my dad moved to the UK and my mom moved to the US. So I grew up in Manhattan, East Village in New York City, and then I lived there for several years. When I was 10, my mom decided that we were going to move back to Nigeria, but she still had some things to figure out in the States, and so she sent us to live with her sister in the Republic of Benin, which is right next to Nigeria, and it's a French-speaking country. So that was an interesting transition because I had to learn to speak French, and yeah, it was a lot of work, but I'm really happy that I went there first instead of Nigeria, because Nigeria is really intense, and so to have gone from like Manhattan to Lagos would have been too much, and I think she knew that, and that's why she sent us there. And then I moved to Nigeria once my mom was back from the States, and my sister and my mom were in Lagos, but then my mom sent me to live with my grandmother in Abuja, which is the capital. And I really liked Abuja because Abuja, I think it was built in like the late 80s, so it's a very organized city, and everything worked there. And then I moved to Lagos where nothing works. But yeah, now Lagos is home. And so I started Ayiba 5 years ago. I had just finished undergrad and I was doing a summer internship that wasn't really keeping me busy enough. And so I thought, why not start a project, something I was passionate about and could always like keep up on the side. So Ayiba definitely started off as a passion project, and over the last 5 years it's developed into a business. So it started when I was at school. I studied international relations and I focused on African development. And then I also was doing computer science. And so after 2 years of computer science, I couldn't hack it. And so I created a digital media minor. So I just added like film studies. And so I started making documentaries and then using the inspiration from like my African development courses to share stories that I wasn't seeing being told about Africa. So like one of them was on the Shell oil drilling in Nigeria. There are a lot of oil spills. So that was my first documentary, and I just saw the reaction it got and how passionate people became. So I thought if I could tell African stories, it could change the way people saw the continent. When I grew up in the States, I knew I was Nigerian, but I also felt very American, right? Because that's the first place I knew. And when I moved back to Nigeria, I always wanted to go back to the States. I was very unhappy for the first few years because I felt out of place. I felt like I'd left home. And then after I kind of got settled into Nigeria and kind of like rejigged my thinking, going back to the States, I thought it would be like returning home, but it felt really foreign. I was now an international student. I was kind of like a foreigner in a place that I thought was home. So that was very interesting for me. It really solidified my feeling like 100% Nigerian, and knowing that no matter what other experiences I may have had, I'm Nigerian, bottom line. Yeah, so when I started Ayiba, I was working. I was working full-time in New York. I was also going to NYU for a digital publishing certificate, so I was doing those three things at once. And that kind of taught me self-discipline and how to use my time properly. And it also showed me how much I could do with time. And I don't think I've slowed down since then, because I just realized, oh, you can go to school and run a business and work 9 to 5, and it's possible. So yeah, I didn't take time off. So after working for a year in New York, I decided to return to Lagos and try the entrepreneurship thing full time. So I was running Ayiba. I also started a digital creative agency where I was building websites and doing social media and PR for different companies. And I just got really tired. Like, Nigeria is tough. Like, I appreciate the experience because it really taught me how resilient I was. Like, abroad, you think you know things, and then you go to Nigeria and you really understand fully what life is and what reality is. And so I just got tired of it. Honestly, I needed an escape. And I would do like 6 months in Lagos, 6 months in New York to kind of have a break. And I did that for 2 years. And then I was just like, I need to find a place where I want to settle. I know it's not Nigeria, even though I love it. I know it's not New York because it's way too expensive. And so I started thinking about doing a master's, and I found a program at the University of Waterloo, and it was affordable. I didn't even need a loan, so I ended up in Canada. Yeah, I'd never been here before. I feel like a lot of people, especially Nigerians, kind of feel like Canada is where you go when you can't make it in America. It's like a second-class America or something. But I decided to give it a go anyway, and I don't regret the decision. I love it here. I think it's a hidden gem. Yeah. So I think when people think Canada, at least when I thought Canada, I thought like cold, lots of space, not enough people. But then I started to see like videos of Toronto. Toronto looked cool. I saw Vancouver, Montreal. So I was like, okay, there are definitely cities here. Then I heard Toronto was like the most diverse city in the world. So I knew that would be good for me because I like to be in a place where I can see all aspects of humanity represented. And so yeah, I didn't know much about it, but when I got here, my first thoughts was this place is really clean, really organized. It's also really friendly. Like if you land in any airport in the States, I feel like it's a very scary experience. Like even though I've gone to the States so many times and I'm a regular, I feel anxiety approaching immigration because they're just so rude unnecessarily, especially when you have a foreign passport. So I was surprised at how friendly like Canadian immigration was, and they were like, "Oh, welcome to Canada." And from then I felt that everywhere I went. Like all my professors were like, "Are you planning on staying after graduating?" Like everybody was like telling you to stay in their country. Whereas in the US, I feel like you hear "get out," "go home," "back to Africa" a lot. So yeah, despite having a green passport, I've been able to travel to 21 different countries, mostly not on the continent. That's a whole nother issue because apart from West Africa, Nigerians can't even fly to South Africa without a visa. So I feel like if I was American, I would have been able to explore more of my continent than I have with my Nigerian passport. But yeah, that's another situation. I've been able to travel a lot in Europe, and I think that's thanks to the Schengen visa, right? You just get one visa and you can go to all these different countries. I've been to the Caribbean quite a bit. And then in the Middle East, I've been to UAE, and that's one thing I love about Dubai. Like the visa is pretty much guaranteed. Like if you buy your Emirates ticket, you get the visa with that. And then I've been around the States a lot. I think with Ayiba, I've taken it everywhere I've lived, and in the past 5 years, I've lived in like 4 different countries. So I think every time I travel and I go to a new place, I meet a new group of people that inspire the kind of content that we share. And like when I moved back to Nigeria, it was really good to kind of have that repat experience, right? And share that with the magazine, and then try and start networking and building a community for myself in Nigeria, but also using the magazine as a way to do that. Just like when I came here, I thought it was a great opportunity for me to start meeting interesting Black people here that are doing amazing things. So wherever I go, Ayiba kind of forces me to find the African community and connect with them. I feel like my experiences have impacted me as an entrepreneur very positively. So if I had just lived my whole life in America, I would think I was in a minority. I would think that Black women weren't, the leaders in entrepreneurship globally. And if you look at Africa and you look at the entrepreneurship ecosystem, you'll see that it's female driven. And so knowing that kind of gives me the confidence to keep pushing and keep growing Ayiba, because I know that there are so many women like me who are doing that. Yeah, I've always had mentors. I've always seen people do amazing things. My mom is a businesswoman, has always been. She's worked in male-dominated fields, doing contracts with like oil companies for safety and security, which is like not a woman's field, but she's done it amazingly. My grandmother was the first Nigerian woman to get to the highest level at the Ministry of Education. She was the first Nigerian woman to serve at the UN as a permanent delegate. So she has a master's degree from Scotland. Like, I've always had examples of amazing Black women, so I never questioned whether I could do it. Especially with like my grandma, she went to school in the UK in the 50s, and for someone of that generation to have a master's degree, I know that like in 2017, to say that I can't do it post civil rights, post like the end of colonialism, and she did it before then, I have no excuses. Living in Lagos really taught me my limits, and what I learned is that I don't have any. Like, Nigerians in general are very resilient. Lagosians are very resilient because the city is really tough. And so coming from that and having to work so hard to get little things done in a place where things work, like infrastructure, like there's infrastructure, things run on time, I can't imagine myself not succeeding. And it's that confidence that I think you get by your limits constantly being tested that really creates success when you move to a new country. And so I appreciate Lagos for that. And just generally, like, I've managed to grow a magazine living in New York and working full time and, pursuing, extra education. And then I was able to go back to Nigeria as a young woman and start a company and, get contracts from banks. And so doing all those things, coming here and getting a 9-to-5, like, that's nothing, right? Because I've done so much more. And so my experiences in different places has taught me that no matter where I am, no matter where I go, I'll always find community. I'll always find people that are willing to support me, and I will always be able to achieve any dream I set my mind to.